In a deep space training base far from Earth, human cadet Ryan stood silently with the other new recruits. The air was tense. They were being inspected by the alien commander Voktal, a high-ranking officer from the Dravari Empire. He was known across the galaxy for his hate toward humans. Earth had joined the Alliance recently, and Voktal didn't like that. As he walked down the line, he stared at each cadet with cold eyes, muttering in his own language. When he reached Ryan, he stopped. He looked into Ryan's eyes, then without warning, slapped him hard across the face. The sound echoed through the room. Everyone froze. No one dared to move. Ryan didn't speak. He didn't even raise his hand. But something shifted in his expression, something dangerous and calm at the same time. Voktal turned his back and laughed. That was when the lights began to flicker. A low, strange sound filled the air. The alien guards looked around, confused. Ryan took a step forward and spoke in a quiet voice. "You shouldn't have done that." In the next moment, the alien commander dropped to the floor, choking, holding his chest, eyes full of fear. Everyone watched in complete silence. Alarms started to ring across the training base. Guards ran in with weapons drawn, but the moment they got close to Ryan, their rifles sparked and died. They stopped, unsure of what to do. Ryan stood still. He didn't look angry or scared. It was like he was somewhere else, lost in thought. Around him, the lights kept flickering. Screens blinked with static. The medics pulled Voktal away, who was now whispering something in fear, like he had seen a nightmare. No one could explain what had happened. A few cadets backed away from Ryan. Others just stared at him, confused and afraid. Ryan didn't say anything, but in his mind, images began to flash, memories he didn't recognize. A dark lab, needles, wires inside his skin, strange machines. He remembered voices calling him Subject 17. He had no idea what it meant, but now he felt it. Something had been placed inside him, something not human. Somewhere far away, deep in an old military station, a red light began to flash on a control panel that hadn't turned on in years. A scientist ran to it and froze. On the screen were two words: Subject active. His hand shook as he whispered, "It's starting again." Ryan sat alone in a cold metal room, locked behind thick doors and guarded by soldiers who were too scared to come close. The isolation chamber was built to hold dangerous beings, but even its walls had started to hum strangely. Cameras watching him went dark one by one. Lights flickered above his head. Ryan wasn't trying to escape. He wasn't even moving, but the power inside him was growing. He could feel it, like fire under his skin. He closed his eyes and tried to remember more. Who had done this to him? Why couldn't he remember anything before joining the academy? His head pounded. Images flashed again. Scientists arguing, someone screaming, machines pulling something out of his body and putting something else in. Then the door to the chamber hissed open. 3 alien interrogators walked in, tall and sharp-looking, like they had done this many times before. They stood in front of Ryan and began to ask questions. "Who are you? What did you do to the commander? What is your mission?" Ryan didn't answer. He just stared. One of them raised a hand to strike him. That was a mistake. The lights exploded. The walls shook, and then the screaming started. Smoke filled the hallway outside the isolation chamber. Guards rushed toward the door, but stopped when they heard the sounds: crashing metal, sparks flying, and something that sounded like a storm trapped inside. Then everything went silent. The door creaked open slowly. Inside, the 3 interrogators were on the floor, unconscious, eyes wide open in shock. Ryan stood in the center of the room, untouched, breathing slowly. The lights above him sparked and went dead. The power had shut down across the entire wing of the base. Outside, a squad of elite soldiers took position. One of them, a human officer named Kira, was ordered to take Ryan into custody. But when she looked into his eyes, she saw something strange. Not fear, not rage, but pain, deep, buried pain. She lowered her weapon and said softly, "What are you?" Ryan looked down at his hands. "I don't know, but I think someone made me into something I was never meant to be." Suddenly, an explosion shook the base. A message came through the comms. Unidentified ships had arrived in orbit. Not enemy ships, but ones carrying the mark of the Nexus project. Whatever had started in that lab was coming back to finish what it began. The base shook again as the unknown ships descended, their engines roaring like thunder. Alarms blared, and soldiers scrambled into defensive positions, unsure if this was an invasion or something worse. Ryan stood beside Kira now, both staring at the sky through the cracked dome above. The ships didn't fire. They simply hovered, silent and waiting. Then one opened, and a group of figures stepped out, humanoid, but not fully human. Their eyes glowed faint blue, their movements smooth and cold. One of them spoke through a comm device. "Subject 17, return to us. You are incomplete without the final phase." Ryan's heart pounded. Memories hit him hard. He remembered now. He had been taken as a child. Changed. Enhanced. Built to be a weapon. Part human, part machine, part something else. But they never finished the process. He escaped before they could. And now they had come to claim him again. Kira turned to him, ready to fight. "You don't have to go," she said. Ryan looked at her and then at the sky. "No," he replied. "But I have to end this." He stepped forward, eyes glowing faintly now, power rising with each breath. This time, he wasn't running. He was going to make them regret everything.